Order in the court, please. It's June 2010, London. The Court of Appeal just overturned the conviction of a father. He was charged with grievous bodily harm for injuring his 7-week-old daughter named Ellie. There was uproar in the court, relief in the father's eyes, and concern in the eyes of reporters. What nobody expected, however, was that this one decision of the Court of Appeal would lead to a terrible outcome. An outcome they could have foreseen, but failed to. This is the story of Ellie Butler's death, when one court decision led to the gruesome murder of a child. Watch till the end to find out what happened, what led to this ending, and why this is the most disturbing story you'll ever come across. Ellie Butler was born in 2007 to parents Ben Butler and Jenny Gray. At first glance, the family appeared normal. But when Ellie was just a few months old, a horrifying incident changed everything. In November 2007, baby Ellie was rushed to hospital with severe injuries, including a fractured skull and bruising. Doctors suspected non-accidental injury. Authorities began to question what had happened inside the home. Ben Butler was arrested and later convicted of grievous bodily harm against his infant daughter. The injuries were described in court as catastrophic, and experts believed they could not have occurred accidentally. Following the conviction, Ellie was removed from her parents' care and placed with her maternal grandparents. For years, she lived away from her mother and father while the legal process continued. At this stage, many believed Ellie would never return to her parents. In a dramatic twist, Ben Butler appealed his conviction years later. In 2009, the Court of Appeal overturned the conviction, citing concerns about medical evidence presented during the trial. The ruling changed everything. With the conviction quashed, the legal argument shifted. If the conviction was unsafe, could the parents be reunited with Ellie? Over time, and after intense legal battles, the court made the controversial decision to return Ellie to her parents' custody in 2012. Despite warnings and opposition from social services and Ellie's grandparents, the judge ruled in favor of reunification. The judge believed Ellie's parents were committed to her welfare and that the family deserved a chance to rebuild their lives. But critics would later question this decision, asking whether the risk to Ellie had been fully understood. When Ellie returned to live with her parents in 2012, she moved into a new life in Sutton, South London. She started attending school and outwardly seemed to be adjusting. However, behind the scenes, there were warning signs. Teachers and staff noticed Ellie sometimes appeared withdrawn or anxious. There were also reports of concerning behavior from Ben Butler, who had strict and controlling tendencies. There were instances where Ellie's school raised concerns about her emotional well-being and her father's aggressive manner. These concerns were logged, but did not result in immediate removal from the home. For months, Ellie continued living under the same roof as her parents, the very people once accused of hurting her. On the evening of October 28, 2013, emergency services received a frantic call from Ellie's mother, Jenny Gray. It was a 999 call, the UK equivalent of 911. The recording of this call would later become a chilling piece of evidence in court. Jenny Gray told the operator that Ellie was not breathing. She sounded distressed and panicked, repeating that something was terribly wrong with her daughter.
The couple's 999 call was played out in court.
Okay, you need to tell me what's happening so I can help you.
My daughter, listen to me now. My daughter is not breathing properly. She's not moving, and I need you to get an ambulance now.
You need to calm down and stop shouting because I can't hear you.
Tell me what to do, please.
Well, I don't know what's happening, my love.
Are you coming to my house or not?
Yes, I am. I've got an address, but I need to help you. So what's happening?
What's wrong with you, love? Tell me the number. I can't hear it.
The call was chaotic. You could hear both parents in the background. They insisted Ellie had collapsed suddenly. The operator instructed them to perform CPR while paramedics rushed to the scene. But when emergency crews arrived, they quickly realized the situation was far more serious than described. Ellie Butler had suffered devastating head injuries. She was rushed to hospital, but despite doctors' efforts, she was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. She was only 6 years old. At first, Ben Butler claimed Ellie had collapsed after a minor incident, possibly a fall or sudden illness. He insisted her death was accidental and not caused by violence. However, medical experts were immediately suspicious. Doctors observed injuries that were severe and consistent with significant blunt force trauma. The extent of damage to Ellie's brain indicated repeated impact rather than a simple fall. Specialists described Ellie's injuries as catastrophic and comparable to those seen in high-speed car crashes. This medical evidence contradicted the parents' explanation. The investigation began to intensify, and that's exactly what happened. Police quickly launched a full-scale murder investigation. Detectives examined the home, interviewed neighbors, and analyzed forensic evidence. They also carefully reviewed the 999 call made by Jenny Gray. Investigators believed the call's tone and statements did not match the severity of Ellie's injuries. There were inconsistencies between what was said during the call and what medical evidence later revealed. Prosecutors argued that the parents were attempting to present the death as sudden and unexplained, rather than the result of a violent assault. Further examination of Ellie's injuries showed she had suffered multiple blows to the head shortly before her death. The conclusion was devastating. Ellie Butler had been murdered. In November 2013, Ben Butler was arrested on suspicion of murder. Jenny Gray was later charged with causing or allowing the death of a child and child cruelty. The charges shocked the public. Many people remember the earlier court case involving Ellie's infant injuries and questioned how she had ever been returned to her parents' care. The tragedy was no longer just about a single violent act. It became a symbol of systemic failure. Old Bailey Court. The trial began in 2016 at the Old Bailey in London. Over weeks, the jury heard harrowing evidence about Ellie's final moments and the years leading up to her death. Prosecutors described Ben Butler as a controlling and volatile father with a history of aggression. They argued that Ellie's fatal injuries were inflicted during a violent assault inside the home. Medical experts testified that Ellie had been struck with extreme force, causing fatal brain trauma. The prosecution described the attack as a savage and violent assault on a defenseless child. The defense argued there was no clear eyewitness evidence of the assault and maintained that the exact sequence of events could not be definitively proven. However, the weight of forensic and medical testimony pointed strongly toward deliberate violence. One of the most emotional pieces of evidence played in court was the recording of Jenny Gray's 999 call. Jurors listened as she repeatedly told the operator that Ellie was not breathing. Her voice sounded frantic, but prosecutors argued that the call appeared staged to create the impression of a sudden collapse. During the call, she was instructed to perform CPR while paramedics were on their way. In the background, Ben Butler could be heard, adding to the chaotic atmosphere. The prosecution suggested the call was made after the fatal injuries had already occurred, and that the parents were attempting to delay suspicion by presenting the incident as medical rather than violent. The jury would later consider whether the call reflected genuine panic or an attempt to cover up a crime. In June 2016, the jury delivered its verdict. Ben Butler was found guilty of murdering his daughter, Ellie Butler. Jenny Gray was found guilty of child cruelty and causing or allowing Ellie's death. The courtroom fell silent as the verdict was read. Ellie's grandparents, who had fought for custody years earlier, wept as justice was finally delivered. Ben Butler was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term before parole eligibility. Jenny Gray received a custodial sentence for her role in failing to protect Ellie and for allowing the abuse to occur.
Do you accept that she was under his control, that he was domineering, violent, abusive, and controlled her?
BBC News reported that the judge described the crime as a truly appalling act of violence against a small, defenseless child. What do you think about this case? Do you think the UK's child protection system has improved since then? Share your thoughts and prayers in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. Your support means a lot to us. Thanks for watching. Until next time.